Really excited to have you all joining us today. My name is Ryan Ross. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at Halcyon. This is our Breakfast with Halcyon series. Hopefully you've got some breakfast. You're probably cooking some eggs and having like a really fancy meal. If you don't have your camera on right now, I imagine you are doing incredible things in the kitchen. So good on you. Grab that coffee, grab that tea. Or if you're fasting currently, enjoy that fast. We are going to dive into a great conversation today with three tremendous founders, Kevin Yu, Vanessa Gill, David Hoja. We're going to be starting very shortly. But before we do, a few of you might be new to this, so I just want to give you a quick background on Halcyon. Halcyon is a nonprofit based in Washington, D.C., and we're really focused on supercharging social entrepreneurs and civic-minded artists with extraordinary world-changing ideas. And you'll see some of those folks just in a little bit. And the biggest way we do that is through our fellowship program. So we have the Halcyon Incubator and the Halcyon Arts Lab for the social entrepreneurs and artists. Traditionally, they're actually living at Halcyon, in Georgetown, or at the Arts Lab, also in Georgetown. Right now, of course, things are a little bit different, but we still do have fellows living in residence. So Kevin right there, you can see him at the top of the screen. He's got the Brilliant Mind wall behind him right now with all of his sticky notes. He's actually at Halcyon, so excited that Kevin's holding down the fort while we're all quarantining right now. We provide them with housing, work, studio space, mentorship, stipends, a lot of other resources, and we really do find the best founders with the biggest ideas to change the world. So you're going to hear from some folks that we really, really think highly of, who are really at the cutting edge of how we're merging technology and innovation with disability and accessibility. So a few quick housekeeping items before we dive in. So we've got a chat box in Zoom for those of you who are new to it. If you're new to Zoom, I don't know where you've been for the past 8 weeks, but that's okay. We're going to go through these things. We've got a chat box. We've got a raise hand function at the bottom, so you can use this to ask questions. So we're going to dive into a real conversation today. If you've been with us at past Breakfast with Halcyon series, we've historically done these from 8:15 to 9 o'clock. And we've actually found that folks are interested in really extending the conversation and diving in a little deeper. So today we've added another 15 minutes on. We're going to be going till 9:15 this morning. If you're joining us by phone, you can always raise your hand by dialing *9. Okay. So if any of the fellows or anyone mentions any websites or other resources, don't worry. You don't need to get a pen and paper really fast. We're going to send all that information out in a post-event email to everyone. So we'll make sure to get you all the resources that are discussed today. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. We're in a really interesting time. We don't often live through global pandemics, and it's one where really we have to rethink a lot of our core systems, institutions, how we do what we do, to make sure that everybody in our society has the chance to be healthy, has the chance to work, has the chance to really thrive in our society. And one of the key areas we've seen fellows bring incredible innovation in over the past few years, and their work is more important than ever today, is as it relates to technology and innovation intersecting with disability and accessibility. And so we're joined today by three incredible founders. I want to go around the horn to have them introduce themselves and their work before we really dive in here. So Vanessa, let's go ahead and start with you. Vanessa was in our 9th cohort, founder of Social Cipher, and you're joining us on the West Coast right now, so it's quite early over there.
It is, but I have my coffee and I'm ready to go and excited to be here.
Really appreciate it.
So it's good to be here. So my name is Vanessa Gill. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Social Cipher, and Social Cipher is a company that makes empowering video games for autistic youth. We give them a safe and accessible space to apply social skills, and our team of developers, designers, and autistic advocates co-develops with the autism community every step of the way. Right now, we're in development of our premier game, Ava, which is an adventure that follows an autistic protagonist as she navigates social challenges, battles self-doubt, and finds community.
That's incredible. So, did you grow up wanting to be a video game designer? How did you get into this? I mean, this is a really kind of unique solution that you're developing here.
Yeah, so not at all. I actually graduated from college with a neuroscience research background. And the reason I started this is because I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when I was 14. And I was raised by a single mom. We didn't really have many resources for me to learn properly about my autism. So I kind of suffered for years from low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. A lot of that was surrounding stereotypes of autism and what I thought about myself. But then later on in college, I started figuring out who I was with friends and family that really accepted me and were able to help me through. So I realized that bringing together the things that I used to really learn social skills, which was music and movies and games, things that I understood, and bringing that into a video game would be a really great way to help other kids that were feeling the same way that I was.
So, just the design of this is really unique in that, you have a video game to be able to kind of really convey a lot of these social skills. So what are the particular things that separate a game designed for kind of your target users versus what a normal video game would have in it?
Yeah, so I think first of all, there's, I guess, a little known statistic about the autistic community. So autistic youth are actually 2 times more likely to play video games. And I believe that's for a couple of reasons. One of them is that video game elements align really well with autistic traits. It's all about those objective goals and levels. The other thing is that it's just a safe space to be able to be who you are and interact without any fear of rejection or judgment. So first of all, video games are just a great place for autistic youth. With our video game in particular, we really try to include the autistic viewpoint, and that's where co-creating with autistic people on our team, including myself and our amazing neurodiversity consultants, as well as all of our beta testers, really comes in handy. So our big thing is representation. So we actually have autistic characters. Our protagonist, Ava, is autistic, and we bring a lot of those elements in. We also have a lot of different settings and elements to make sure that students aren't overstimulated, that they're feeling comfortable while playing the game, and most of all, they're having fun.
That sounds incredible. And I don't want to put you on a strict timeline here, but roughly speaking, when can we expect to be able to start beta testing this game?
So actually, we have our very first episode of our game coming out in September in a limited release. So that's very exciting. And then we'll actually have about 3 episodes done for full bundle. It's coming out later in 2021.
Brilliant. That's really exciting stuff. So I'm going to pull you back into the conversation in a little bit because there's so much I want to dive into. But first, want to bring in our other 2 panelists as well. David, let's go to you. Also on the West Coast, really appreciate you joining very early. What's in that cup there? Is it something that's pouring a little caffeine into your system? Oh man, that's really small on the screen. Can you tell us what that is?
It's Starbucks. So just
Starbucks.
like
Excellent. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your work. David, obviously another Halcyon fellow, founder of Loro. Tell us a little bit about Loro and how you got into that.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to start first with the quick background history and how I got into accessibility and assistive technology. When I was a kid, I always liked to invent and create things to help other people. My uncle got into spinal cord injury, so I know someone as full-time wheelchair user since I was a kid. So I know the pain just relying on others all the time. Even cannot do simple tasks like switching on the light on and off. Then when I went to college studying mechanical engineering at Harvard, I got inspired with a lot of people, such as Stephen Hawking. I got inspired by Stephen Hawking a lot, personally and professionally. And I do believe there are many people like Stephen Hawking out there. They're just missing accessible technology to be the next Stephen Hawking, the next engineer, designer, whatever they want to be. So I want to empower them to be able to achieve their dreams. And I met actually during our user testing and development and reaching all users and caregivers. I met a lot of amazing, intelligent people out there. They're just basically stuck in their body. They have limited mobility, whether it's communication disability or they cannot move their body. So I want to empower all these people to be able to be connected, to not be just isolated, relying on others 24 hours and waiting for help from the caregiver or for anyone. That's why we started Loro as one of the example here. So it's basically assistive device to help people with disability, especially with communication and mobility disability. So like someone with ALS or multiple sclerosis or spinal cord injury, who really needs a lot of attention and help. So the device basically helps them to be connected with others, to have basically theses. We call it theses. The C number one, which is about navigation. So they can drive the wheelchair safely indoor and outdoor. The second C, which is smart communication, which is much faster than any current technology nowadays because we use AI, machine learning, and real-time communications. The third C, which is smart home connectivity. So that's basically us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So what the name Loro, can you tell us how you came up with the name Loro?
It's actually Loro means parrot in Spanish, and we are basically parrots. So basically, you know, the parrot is very friendly as a pet and also a smart animal. And not just that, the parrot can mimic your voice and even speak for you if they're very smart and trained very well. That's what, and for me, I love birds, all kind of birds, from owl, from eagles, from parrots. And I had a parrot when I was a kid. So I know that kind of feeling and the companionship between human and birds. So, and because also with my technical background, we brought this together in one piece as this is your smart virtual assistant. So that's basically to be just assistive device, like a companion for them to help them to be more independent.
Incredible stuff. Thanks, David. And Kevin, I want to bring you in as well. Kevin, you're in the current cohort over at Halcyon right now. And I think that, you know, you also have, you know, really built something pretty unique in terms of, you know, trying to make sure that the playing field is a little bit more level. Tell us a little bit about your company, WearWorks, about the Wayband. I would love to, you know, really dive into kind of some of the background there as to how that technology was developed.
Thank you, Ryan, and yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. The company WearWorks that we've started designs products and experiences that communicate information entirely through touch. So what that means is practically haptics. Haptics is any kind of information that is understood by the skin. So we've created Wayband, which is this device I'm wearing on my wrist, which helped guide the first blind runner in the New York City Marathon, completely unassisted, utilizing vibrations. So we really care about technology. We really care about humans' intuitive understanding of information, and kind of putting them together. We've realized that skin is something that everybody obviously has. It's the biggest organ in the body. And to interpret information through it is something that we thought wearable device was literally made to do, that it wasn't really hitting the high bars. So we thought, hey, let's make a haptic language, information through touch, and let's help blind people be able to really understand information very fluently. Sorry about that. Yeah, and that's practically the over scope of our company.
So you've got the Wayband, it's on your wrist, and for folks who are visually impaired, they want to get somewhere. How does it actually work? Like, how does the vibration actually communicate information?
We thought the most intuitive way to get around somewhere, right, is through your memory. So you do a route from A to B 100 times, and the next time you go, you just kind of do it intuitively, right? Your muscle memory. So we thought, what does that feel like? And what that felt like was nothing. So what we developed was, when you go in the right direction, you feel nothing. And as soon as you deviate off the path, you begin to feel a sensation. A vibration begins to be initiated, and it gets stronger as you deviate off the path. So it's always kind of pushing you and pulling you towards the correct direction.
That's really fascinating. And you kind of mentioned this, but there was kind of this really interesting anecdote you mentioned. You use the device to help someone run a marathon without any assistance. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so that was in 2017. It seems like forever ago now, but it was one of the biggest things that's ever happened in our company's life. And it was incredibly challenging. So Simon Wheatcroft is a blind runner from the UK. He's like an ultra marathon runner. He reached out to us and said, hey, I've been working with IBM, and they created this device that utilizes sound. It uses audio to put me in the tracks, exactly what we're doing, but using audio. And he used it to run a desert marathon because there was nothing around, so he couldn't trip on anything. So he used it for like an incredibly long distance, but the beeping noise practically drove him crazy, and he had to stop midway. So he saw our article on TechCrunch and reached out to us and said, hey, I want to run a marathon, the New York City Marathon, and I want to use your product, a more minimal conversation. And I said, okay, this sounds like a very challenging thing, but let's give it a shot. So he came over, we started to work on this together. It was a very, very incredibly fast sprint. And we were just kind of listening to what he wanted. Where does he want the device? You're running for a long time. How do you want the sensation to be? What's the power level? What's the degree of angle that you don't want the vibration to be on? Obviously, it all depends on speed. So we really worked on the route of the New York City Marathon, and we kept testing these areas with incredibly, lack of GPS accuracy, right? Like if a skyscraper is nearby, you're going to get a lot of inaccuracies. So how do we solve that? So we hit a lot of challenges that we didn't even see coming, literally, and we had to keep overcoming them. So over time, it was small, minuscule milestones. The product itself was a difficult thing to make, and then we had to make a software. So we hired software developers, and from those two combination, we were able to do it. But even so, we hit a lot of challenges during the marathon itself. I actually ran also, and during the process of running together, I was able to kind of observe and really take in the challenges of making a wearable device and a software for navigation that's precise enough to give you entirely the whole journey from A to B without sight or audio, entirely through touch, and to do it really, really accurately. So from there, we've been refining for 3 years, and now we're about to launch.
That's brilliant. So let's go ahead and dive into some of these questions. For those who are just joining us, we're here with three brilliant individuals. There's no way I enjoy starting my day better than talking with three people smarter than myself. It makes me feel smarter just through osmosis, and hopefully you get a little bit of that as well. So we're really focusing today on kind of how technology and innovation are kind of changing the future of kind of accessibility in this world. But let's start with kind of where the world is right now, which is hey, there's a global pandemic, and I think that this affects everyone, but in very peculiar and different ways. Vanessa, I might start with you here. I know that a lot of neurodivergent children in particular receive a lot of kind of support through kind of our education system. Obviously, overnight our education system has changed, and guess what? Our education system was completely unprepared for a global pandemic. So how are some of the children you're working with, how are they adapting? What's going on in that community right now?
Yeah, so in that community, in the neurodivergent community, it's very interesting. It's really tough. I think for one, on one of the better ends, people are finally noticing that there is a lack of resources for neurodivergent youth, especially in public schools. What has been happening mostly with the pandemic is that many autistic youth have trouble with changes in routine. So this can be an especially distressing time for them because the routine is, as all of ours has been totally disrupted. I think another thing that's really difficult is that, yeah, a lot of these kids are used to having a lot of their therapeutic services on a weekly basis, multiple times, or having them even in school. And that's really not happening right now because a lot of these services aren't really available in teletherapy as well. And I think the other big thing really is this social isolation that's just increased because of this pandemic. With a lot of social skills practice, most of the time it's done in person. And those little things, you know, like going to the grocery store, going to the gas station, all these little things are really what help reinforce and build up social skills practice. When you don't have those things, that can really slip back and just lead deeper into isolation. But our hope, and with us, and just with all the brilliant and amazing therapists and educators out there, is that they're making video conferencing work as well as they possibly can. I've heard of online social skills groups being held and, you know, like character events, so kids can just like see other kids and interact with them, be able to realize that they're not alone. And I think with Social Cipher, we've been doing a lot of virtual playtesting up in that, so kids are able to see this representation, have a little bit of social skills practice, and also just have a little bit of fun while they're here.
Yeah, so, you know, just thinking about, you know, kind of the systems as they were and how they're going to have to change. You know, listen, we're not epidemiologists. We're not going to try to predict exactly what's going to happen with the virus over the next, you know, kind of 12 to 18 months or so. But thinking, you know, kind of a little bit further forward, what do you see as some of the legacy parts of our system and how we're working with neurodivergent youth that are going to have to be relics of the past? And how do you think that the current, you know, crisis really, you know, will help to, you know, again, looking at, you know, some of the silver linings from an optimistic lens, how can that inevitably help to strengthen, you know, kind of our understanding of these types of systems? I mean, certainly, you know, your solution, you know, kind of building, you know, a video game that creates this type of interaction is a component of it. How do you see kind of the whole system shaping and evolving?
Yeah, so I think that one thing that the autistic community has really been wanting for a long time now is to be able to have this remote option for schooling. It's been the same with employment, giving autistic and neurodivergent people an ability to have a little bit more of a flexible routine, a little bit more of an ability to self-isolate when they need to. A lot of students have actually really been enjoying this remote learning at the same time, because it does allow them to have that space and to be able to take a break if they need to have sort of the comfort and routine that they're setting at home now. So I think that, you know, when schools reopen and everything, having this, there may be a more flexible option available because it's been proven that it can actually happen now. So I think if that may be an option that is going to be offered to neurodivergent students, and it's going to be what the autistic community's wanted for a long while.
Well, that's a hopeful note, and certainly one appreciated. Kevin, I want to jump to you. I know that you know, similarly, the status quo, so to speak, for folks who are visually impaired has changed quite a bit recently. Maybe walk us through that experience. What are some of your users, your partners talking about right now?
Yeah, so it's actually incredibly interesting. Of course, obviously everything is up in the air. Specifically within the community of visually impaired, social distancing is really difficult. They're not able to, you know, use the cane because by the time you get there, that's, you know, already in the zone of 6 feet, right? So we realized that that's problem number one. And my friends in New York who are blind and who are very, you know, out there, they're triathlons and they're runners and such, through Achilles, which is a really big organization for visually impaired runners. I realized, like, you know, they've been writing articles about it because it's not something that people saw as a really big problem only a few months ago. And all of a sudden, it's literally preventing them from going outside, as all of us, but more. So we started to understand, like, okay, we're already making a device that does vibrations, and we've already been playing around with the concept of connecting with Bluetooth for proximity detection. So we've already done this to several buildings around New York. We partnered with a Bluetooth beacon company called Farsight, and one of the co-founders is blind, and his name is David, one of my really good friends. So as soon as the coding has already been done, we've already implemented it, and you just put the beacon onto an entranceway of a door. And as soon as you get to your destination, right, the GPS or your navigation app will say you've arrived when you're still about 100 feet, 50 feet away. And where is the actual door? So this was the first initial problem that we were solving, was actual entranceway to the door and accuracy to the transition of the indoors. And then now we're implementing that into proximity of people. So by unlocking Apple and Google are kind of doing it with the encryption code. They want to be able to understand who has the virus and to be able to keep their distance. We are doing that in our own way using our wearable device. So we're giving it a shot. This is a very important time, and I think by doing this faster, we could impact a lot of people.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I also want to flag for everyone in the audience today, we actually are going to dive into audience Q&A in a formal way in a little bit, but as you have questions, as you have kind of comments, things that you want us to really focus on, you want to hear from the panelists on, please feel free to throw those in the chat. We'll jump into a Q&A later where we'll have folks raise their hand, and we'll kind of have folks asking questions themselves. But really want to make sure that I know everyone has a lot of different things that they're interested in as it relates to disability and accessibility, and how technology and innovation is really kind of looking a few steps ahead and how we can improve these systems. So feel free to throw those in the chat. David, also want to pull you in here. A lot of your users are very much dependent on caregiving in some way, shape, or form. And I know that one of the clear value propositions of your technology in having kind of an assistive device integrated onto a wheelchair is that you make people significantly more independent. So I wish you had your device on all wheelchairs. We're not there yet. We'll get there someday. The question is, in the interim period, how are folks, who have, ALS, who have other disabilities that put them in a position where they have significant limitations into, kind of the physical accessibility. How are they getting by in a time when we're trying to stay as far away from other folks as possible?
Yeah, especially during this time, it's really challenging for them. A lot of people with ALS or multiple sclerosis, they already have a lot of problem with breathing, and even their immune system is, generally speaking, is weaker. So, and as you know, a lot of nursing home, they have more restrictions than the rest of the people. So it's really challenging, but we did not stop. So we try to, from our side, we try to give them some devices safely, make sure everything is going to be delivered in a safe way. But also for them, I have been talking with a lot of people, with the patient, also their caregivers. It's really quite challenging, not just to maintain social distancing and other stuff, but also it feel really isolated, like not be able to go out or do normal activity. It's really challenging, but some people, they have a great spirit and trying to stay strong and maintain their good mental status and to be connected. So that's one of the things, but I feel that like very much. I want to mention, like, back in the days, like it was like 2 years ago when we did user testing with one of the users. He was a brilliant. He finished his master from Caltech, California, and now he's living with multiple sclerosis. But he's really a really independent person. He really likes to do a lot of things by himself. He's not, but now he's living with severe condition with multiple sclerosis. One day after we implemented eye tracking, so now they can use just their eyes to communicate and do a lot of things. So he was so happy to have that features. And at that moment, I was looking to see him. After I brought the device to him, I told him, yeah, now you can use just your eyes to be more independent. You don't have to rely on others. And at that moment, he was about to cry. And at that moment, I felt like I'm doing something great for him and other people. I felt like, hey, I'm doing something great. I want to make this happen, whatever it takes. So even during this challenge, even during this hard times, I want to do more for them, because those people can bring a lot, not just for them to help to be more independent. They can bring a lot to the society, to be a designer, engineer. So that's why still like this is a challenge nowadays, but it's opportunity for us to be more innovative, creative, to develop more technology to help them with whatever the situation is, whether it's health conditions, or also we're also trying to implement some telehealth, but it's going to be the next generation, so they can interact with the healthcare providers safely and in very effective way.
One of the common themes I see across all three of you is just a real passion for your users and kind of how you can continue to innovate for them. So I deeply appreciate that. So I want to, again, we're going to jump into Q&A with the audience very shortly. Want to bring everyone in, be able to really make this kind of a group conversation as much as possible. Before we do, I want to bring in Andrew Jacobs on our team. Andrew, how are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing really, really well, actually. I finally put some art up behind me for the first time,
Looks
so it's
great.
not just a blank
I
wall.
love it. I was just noticing it.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it is a pale imitation of an actual painting that my wife and I did, but you know, it has more sentimental value when you make it. So, you know, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. But anyway, this is not about the silly self-created art in my background. This is about, what is this about? Andrew, tell us a little bit about your message.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Halcyon. For those of you who are joining us for the first time and you're unfamiliar with what we do, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are here solely for the fellows that you are seeing today. Kevin, David, Vanessa, thank you so much for inspiring us. This has been completely amazing. But we rely on our community, especially at times like this, to continue to fund our operations. We've seen an incredible rallying around our mission from some of our community members and our supporters. If some of you are in the audience, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. We could not do this without you. And if you are new to us and you have not yet supported us, please consider a small donation to keep our great efforts going. I can put the link in the Zoom chat for you all. It's halcyonhouse.org/donate, very simple. And just thank you for being here. It really, really inspires us and our fellows and our whole entire community to be able to put events like this together. So enjoy the rest and have a great day.
Excellent. Thanks, Andrew. So again, if you are interested in asking a question, joining the conversation, you can use the chat feature. You can raise your hand if you want to ask your question. We'll get you in here, and would love to, you know, kind of just have everyone who's joining us today, you know, really hop in with the topics and things that you want to hear more about from these panelists. As we get those questions in, I've got a slew of questions here. One that I really want to jump into quickly is, you know, again, and Vanessa, I think we began to touch on it a little bit. So I want to pull in Kevin and David on this. But kind of what the silver lining is, right? What the optimistic, like, hey, we're living through incredibly difficult times. How are things going to improve afterwards? So Kevin, maybe I'll start with you. What's the silver lining here? How are we, kind of in a few years going to rethink some of our kind of systems, the way we approach, kind of how we are making this world more accessible for the visually impaired? And what are the things that we need to begin doing today to make that a reality in a few years down the road?
That's a great question, Ryan. And I've been keeping very optimistic during the times. We've dodged a lot of bullets. As a startup, we've been doing this for quite a long time. Keith, who just mentioned, he's my co-founder. Shout out to you, Keith. And we have wonderful people here. Jim is our lead developer, and we have two of our investors here, David and Ford. So thank you so much for joining. We're very optimistic about this future situation because we were going to launch our product earlier than what we have planned now. And if we did, a lot of things would have been very challenging. Supply chains and actual marketing, actual business things. It would have been incredibly challenging at these times. But luckily, we've decided to develop and perfect our product a little more. And usually this is the main reason why a lot of startups end up getting behind. But I think obviously nobody saw this coming. And as we have this time gap now, we're able to really talk to our customers. We're able to really sit down and refine our product. And I think this is the moment that we can take advantage of that's going to jump our product and experience to the next level. So I'm really grateful for that. And for us to touch base with our customers again, to our main people. The reason why we started this entire company back in the day, Marcus Engel, he's the first blind person that I've ever met. He's a good friend of mine from college. And he became blind when I was just becoming a designer. And at that point, inclusive design wasn't even a thing. But now, inclusive design, I think a lot of people in this chat will know about it, as well as what haptics is now, hopefully. So I think combining these two factors of educating people by inclusive design, haptics, and how that can actually help people as a whole, as a community, and as a general law, right? Like, nothing should be made for a specific niche market. Even though we're all talking about niche markets, and we're talking about all these specific things, I think what we're talking about here is a granular idea of how do we make everything inclusive? How do we make everything accessible? And the technology allows us to do that. So, I'm very optimistic about the future. We're in a really incredible position. Our technology has never been soaring as much as it has been now. And we really want to push this out by end of this year when things are in the bounce up. Hopefully by end of this year to early next year. I think, honestly, when you hit rock bottom, right, there's really only one way to go, and it's up. So I'm really optimistic about that specific portion and timing of the economy booming. So yeah, spirits are going to be rising, hopefully, soon.
Yeah, hopefully so. And David, I'm going to have a little bit of a more specific part of that question for you. You are one of the kind of the wonkiest technologists that we've had in the program, and you have a lot of kind of different components integrated into your what's essentially kind of a platform for a lot of different kind of technology integrations into your device. The question I would have, though, is we throw around these acronyms very loosely, right? We've got machine learning, AI, IoT, et cetera, et cetera. What do you see, just from the lens of, kind of using technology to kind of hit what Kevin was saying, right? To make this world more inclusive and accessible. What trend in technology do you see kind of in particular as the one that shows the most promise in this vein?
There are many things, but I want to mention something which is about specifically about machine learning. There's generally speaking, there's two models or when you do machine learning. One thing is about generic common interactions, like people see like, for example, one of the things we implement in our system, like we see a bottle of water, the system will pick up like entire sentences, or cup of coffee will say, "Hi, do you want a cup of coffee?" or and etc. Or like when you see the door open by itself. Like this is very general, common model, but also there is a personalized, because now where is the personalized model here, which is everyone is speaking differently. Everyone is they have their own personality, their own behavior. So how could we make that accessible for everyone? And like how the technology can understand that and pick up what the challenges, what their disability, and how can we have like the personal touch there in the technology, not very technical, like a computer here, or no, it's like we want that the human touch to be with the technology itself. Like that's like I think the next level that we need to reach, and it's going to be actually we're going toward that, so that basically everyone, no matter what their challenge or disability, so they can have their own personalized touch, personalized behavior out there, so the system can understand them. That's what we're trying to implement here. And also one of the things, everything is going to be virtual. Like one of the things that people are missing right now, they don't, a lot of people, they cannot join a regular Zoom call right now, because sometimes it's really challenging. Of course, you have some subtitles, but how about speaking? So it's going to be very challenging for some people. That's one of the things we brought. We are planning to launch like more accessible conference call. It's going to be, hopefully we can launch that sometimes at the end of the year or by next year. So we want everyone to be more connected, because now one of the things we know for sure, we are entering a new world, like not as the previous one, because everything is going to changing. A lot of things are going to be more virtual. And we want to bring virtual technology to connect people, not to separate people. So that's why we want all these people to be connected, even to have the ability to be connected virtual for everyone. That's what we're trying to achieve here. And that's, I think, the trend is going to be in the future.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I want to, again, encourage anyone who has questions that they want to direct to the panelists, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Raise your hand as well. We'll make sure to get you. And want to thank a few of the folks who are putting in some really very important perspectives, I think, into the chat. So if you haven't had a chance to go in there, Keith in particular, I think has shared a few things that I thought were really great. And similarly to iPad 8. Thank you, iPad 8. For sending in those notes as well. Vanessa, I've got a million questions for you, but one, I think that I don't want to overlook here is the fact that, yes, we've got these incredible innovations, awesome technology, the future is bright, here we go. At the same time, you're a founder. You are running a business that is, you're running a startup that's in its early stages right now. And I think a lot of us, just are experiencing the challenges of kind of working in this environment. But as an entrepreneur, what's been your experience as a founder in this time? Has it been easy and seamless to transition you and your team to this? Has it been a rocky road? What's been going on in your world?
Oh yes, the road has been rocky, Ryan, but it's been an interesting one, and it's been ultimately a good one that's made us stronger. I think for us, one of the biggest changes, actually two huge changes. One of the biggest changes for us was that we do most of our testing in person with our users. So usually we have them come into our office here in LA and test the game with us. And what's really important for us is to really just see their reactions in real time, just see them playing next to us and just see what they're seeing. And that's very difficult to do remotely. So for us, we really had to just completely change how we were used to testing with people. And luckily, I found a process and a way to do it. But I think that was very challenging. because you just don't have those face-to-face conversations to warm people up. You just don't have a lot of things. But we found a way. And I think that as a founder, it's been difficult because just in like October of last year, we finally got an office after working remotely for almost 2 years. And so it was really exciting to be able to actually work together in person. And then all of a sudden we're working remotely again. So that was a little bit tough, but we're back in the swing of it. For us, I think schools are a pretty big challenge for us. Nobody really knows what's going on with schools right now. We were actually planning on launching to schools and really going B2B with them. But even with playtesting, it's pretty difficult to be able to get a hold of them because they have other priorities right now, which is totally valid. So right now we've kind of had to make this pivot to working more with autism service providers because they are precisely the ones that are looking for this teletherapy kind of stuff, that are looking for ways to connect with their students and have things to talk about and to get excited about when they're not in an office together. So that's been a strength right there. But with schools, I think that's been the toughest part. But I have faith that we're going to navigate through it and get there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I love that. I'm going to go around the horn here, and Vanessa, start with you again. You know, and staying on this topic of being a founder at this time, what would you say as the leader of your company, as someone who aspires to you know, really big things? What do you think is the most important trait for a leader? What's the most important leadership quality that a CEO or anyone in an organization can exhibit during this time? What's been kind of your big takeaway on what that leadership quality is that's going to allow people to really get through here? So Vanessa, I'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, I've actually thought about this quite a bit because I've had to really assess a lot of different leadership qualities myself and make sure that I'm expressing the right ones. So I would definitely say that the number one quality, especially right now, is self-awareness. Being able to understand your own emotions and reactions before actually reacting to things. I think that, especially for me as an autistic person, like this is a time where I really have to be in tune with how I'm feeling, where my anxieties are, and when I need to step away and take a break, because my attitude as a leader really affects and impacts my team. So, and I think another thing about self-awareness that's extremely important is that, you know, especially in this time, we cannot control what's going on in the outside world. We can't control the behaviors of other people who are also stressed out during this time. But one thing you can control and paying attention to is yourself and your own emotions. So I think having that and keeping your self-awareness and your own regulation in check is extremely important.
Thank you, thank you. And David, how about you? What's the leadership quality that really stands out for you as a founder in this time?
I think to be calm and focus in the vision, no matter what. Like I always like say like Avengers, like whatever it takes. When you have something to do it. See a challenge and turn that challenge into a opportunity to do more, to get creative, to use technology as a medicine. So if there's no cure for a disease or disability, the technology can be a cure for now. And like use all the tools that you can imagine to do more, to help others and inspire other people to do more. One of the things each day when I wake up these days, I'll say, how can I help more? And I always imagine myself like fully isolated. How can I connect all these people? And I feel some people they're really in pain, and like how can I sleep or have a good rest while other people are suffering? I want to help all these people too, because we share value, we are all together in this. So we are stronger together. So by bringing all people together to join forces and do more, that's what I see as a leadership point, like to work together, to get creative, to do more.
Well, I certainly hope you still get some sleep, except when you need to wake up early to hop on a breakfast with Halcyon from the West Coast. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. And Kevin, how about you? What's your perspective on kind of a leadership quality that you find to be incredibly important at this time?
I mean, obviously, hopping on top of everything that Vanessa and David said, communication is so important. Right now, we're trying our best to segment all of our week into segments. So usually, if you were to all be in an office together, there's sections, right? So there's like a software team, there's like a hardware team, and there's whatever. So you can kind of assess the progress, and you can kind of just hop on over and just walk from one station to the other. But in this case scenario, when everything is virtual, you have to make virtual meetings, and I think segmenting the time off very accurately throughout the week was very important to us as we're growing quite rapidly, and we're hiring people and so on. The comfort level of how they like to work, and we always ask them like about their motivation, especially right now when you're interviewing to hire new people. Everything, I mean, there's no like physical, whatever, like there's no like magic of connecting with somebody over a drink or something like this. So it's a little bit harder for us to understand true motivations and true intentions within people that we hire. So it took a little bit longer, but I think taking more time to really do it. We took usually what would take a few weeks of interviewing process to hire. We will do it for a few months, and for us to really understand the person through the virtual chats and stuff. Just both taking the time to continuously give time, 30 minutes here, an hour there, and when you are doing a virtual thing like this, you have to be like here. So it's just being respectful of the time and being respectful of the fact that you have to be sitting somewhere looking at the screen. That's something that we always partake in. But I think, for example, Jim has been our new lead developer, and we've really are excited about talking to each other, and we just hop on a call very casually and we're working while talking. I think that's the kind of environment space that we really like. The casuality of just kind of talking with somebody on a call, still making progress, and feeling like they're there, feeling like you're kind of in a more bigger office, even though we're all isolated in a confined space. And also being updated. So I just got this notification from New York Times, and practically the title is Elderly Homes Turns to Wearables for Contact Tracing, right? So we're definitely keeping updated with everything that's going on. And I think as obviously the founders of a company, you have to be like the number one person to be updated on the current situation. What's your competition look like? What's the opportunity scope look like? Can you really do something in the next couple of months to make an impact, or is this all just going to be a waste of time? Or are you going off track too much? So I think these are conversations that necessarily you don't have every day with the people you work with, but something that you're just constantly thinking about as opportunities are shifting, as chances come and go. I think that's always the number one thing that keeps me up at night.
Really appreciate the insights from each of you. So first, I want to thank Vanessa, David, and Kevin. Really appreciate everything that you are doing. And then, of course, for taking the time this morning, for the majority of this panel being on the West Coast, to really share some of the insights, you're sharing your work, but also kind of your thoughts and your vision for what makes, what's going to make for a more accessible and inclusive world going forward. So thank you again for joining us all. I want to thank kind of all of the participants as well who are joining us today. We're going to be back in June for some more breakfast conversations. Hopefully you will be able to also join us on this Friday. We're actually having a virtual studio visit with Arts Lab fellow Sobia Ahmad. So Sobia is going to talk about her work and her unique interdisciplinary practice, which actually maps the various ways that the personal and the political overlap. So in our post-event follow-up, we'll actually have a link. You'll be able to see all the different events we're putting on in our May events calendar. So we're going to close out this event now. We'll leave the Zoom open in case you want to connect with Vanessa, Kevin, David, or anyone else on this call today. Staff member will kind of let you know when we're going to close down the meeting. But hope everyone here has a wonderful Wednesday. Hope you have a little bit of more insight and inspiration to go about your day with, as we are, hopefully, as I think Kevin put it earlier, going to be on the upswing pretty soon with this. So Vanessa, Kevin, David, thank you again, and thank you everyone. We'll see you soon.